talking about Alfred Hitchcock and his lasting impression on modern media. Alfred Hitchcock has been considered the king of suspense for many years, and it started with his unique style of building a scene, shooting that scene, and his impressive plot lines. We're going to be talking about 3 of his most famous horror films: The Birds, Vertigo, and Psycho. The Birds is about a young woman visiting her partner's hometown when murderous birds attack. Vertigo is about a detective who fell in love with the woman he was investigating, and when he watched her die, he had fallen into obsession for her. And then Psycho, who is what is about a motel and its murderous owners. So, first and foremost, we need to talk about Hitchcock's formula. It is going to be the dolly tracking move, which is basically when you have your camera on a track and you pull it in and out in a smooth, fluid motion. The build-up, building up in the scene, build up the suspense. The way he does this very commonly is you watch an object and its way through. You ever seen a movie where it's a close-up on a glass of champagne, coffee, maybe even a cookie or cake, and it's just being passed from person to person to person to person until it finally lands on the last person who finally takes a sip or a bite. That would be one way he does that. Long shots to close-ups to long shots. Basically, wide, in, and out. And just close-off message, which is really just another fancy way of the 2 from before. The Birds. So, The Birds has 3 tropes that still live on in media today. First, we have the innocent person being falsely accused. Our main protagonist, she gets accused by the whole town that she is the reason the birds are attacking. They didn't attack before she arrived. You see that trope in movies like Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile. You also have tension and fear of violence with no motive. The birds don't have a motive, they just attack. There's no evolutionary reason. There is no supernatural reason. The birds simply choose to attack. We see that in movies like Black Christmas and The Fog, where you don't have a motive, you don't have a reason why this is happening. It just does. Intentional background music or noise. So we see this a lot, especially in the most famous scene from here is when our main protagonist is waiting by the school playground for school to let out. And as she is lighting up a cigarette and waiting, we hear the children chanting in the background. The chanting gets louder and louder and louder as she realizes more and more and more birds are swarming the playground, perched on it, waiting for the children to get out to be the next victims. And we see this a lot, specifically with Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg has taken a lot of inspiration from Alfred Hitchcock. Next we have Vertigo. So Vertigo also has 3 tropes that get used a lot in media. So first and foremost, computer-generated graphics. You cannot go to and see any movie without there being some form of computer-generated graphic. And Vertigo was one of the first movies to do so, specifically in its opening scene, but also with his madness scene, where he finally succumbs to his obsession. You see this in movies like Jaws, Pulp Fiction, and Lord of the Rings. You also have Hitchcock's signature. Again, that signature way of building suspense and building fear. You see this a lot, specifically with this type of movie in things like Murder, She Wrote and Magnum P.I. Next we have Psycho, arguably one of the most famous movies that he has done. So, for starters, we have our twist ending. The murder is not who we thought it was. You go this whole time believing that it is murderous mommy who has been kicking everybody off throughout the movie, only to find out that she has been dead this entire time. Finally, you see that in Friday the 13th. But it's more on the reverse because mom is the murderer, not Jason. Fake out protagonist. So, in the first 45 minutes of this movie, we are led to believe that our protagonist and the person that we are following is this lady who is ran from her employer because she stole a lot of money from him. Only for her to be the first murder in this movie. And then the Hitchcock formula. Again, this gets used a lot, specifically for this style of movie, Halloween. Hitchcock has done a lot for the movie genres, and we will see his tropes and his techniques and his signature in ways that you wouldn't notice before unless you knew what you were looking for. They are in almost every horror movie. There's almost in every style of movie, really, that wants to build suspense. And that is why he has a lasting impression on modern media.